start to understand what makes good coffee. To make a really good cup of coffee is quite simple, but it's amazing how many people can't do it as well. If you're interested in that industry, just try and soak up as much about it as possible. And there are lots of different parts to it. I suppose I've never really been looking for an office job.
I'm here this morning at the foot of the Malvern Hills, North Quarry car park. Only a few weeks ago, earlier on in the autumn, I was down the road at the Three Counties show in Malvern, where I met with Will, who runs a mobile coffee business. And he was quite busy on that day, so I couldn't really get to speak to him. But I'm here today to talk to him about his journey and to find out all about his business, which is Counter Coffee. Counter Coffee is an off-grid mobile coffee bar based in Worcestershire and run by owner and barista Will. As well as doing busy events such as the Three Counties show, he's often found at the foot of the Malvern Hills, where hikers and dog walkers alike can enjoy his refreshments.
I can be here any day of the week, so it's quite nice to have something like this to fall back on when there aren't events, and I suppose that's what I use it for. But yeah, so I do a lot of different events, things like, there's a Three Counties show. I focus on kind of local, medium-sized to small events, I guess, would be the bigger events maybe aren't so great for something like a coffee trailer because they just cost a lot and you can only make so many coffees in an hour. But local events work really well, and I suppose key is finding those events. That's just really important.
Counter Coffee was launched in 2023, with Will initially starting out serving nothing more than filter coffee from a table before setting up his catering trailer. He told me all about his background and how he came to having the idea for mobile coffee.
So I worked in the wine trade for 20 odd years, which is a great job. To, varied and travel and all sorts of things. But I think I wanted to really work for myself and get away from wine. And coffee has a lot of parallels. The way you do things like tastings. They call it cuppings. The flavour profiles, the different types of coffees, and the care that's taken, from the growers to the roasters to the actual end product where the barista makes the coffee. It is there's a lot of parallels which really interest me, and so I've been thinking about it for a few years before I actually went into doing it for seriously. And COVID's kind of changed things for everyone, and my job didn't really exist anymore because it was basically going out and meeting people to sell wine to, and we couldn't even do that. So things changed a lot, and it seemed like the right time to basically retrain. So I got a job as a barista in a local restaurant / cafe, and also at the same time I got a job in a coffee roastery selling coffee to people to wholesale, basically, so to coffee shops. And over about a year it gave me a really great insights into all parts of the coffee industry.
So you really threw yourself into coffee, one way or another.
Yeah, and it was really good. It was a baptism of fire. It was not easy, but I learned a lot, and I suppose that was the basis for what I've got now. From there I got a government loan, and a grant, and set this up basically. you know, a lot of research. I mean, I think I've probably missed out a lot in between there, but you know, it's all about, yeah, market research and, you know, standing places to see how many people walk past in a day, things, the exciting stuff. But yeah, and here I am, you know, and I've got now a business which is viable going forward.
At school, Will was principally interested in art and photography, and after completing his A-levels, he took some time out to go travelling.
I went like Australia and Southeast Asia,
Right.
so I was away for about a year and a half at 18, which was great. I don't think my mum loved the fact that I was away that long, but yeah, it was you know it was good fun, and I think I got a lot out of that, and did loads of photography there. So that's what I kind of got into, but also wine. You know, Australia particularly, there's a massive wine scene there, and um, I worked in some vineyards there, helped pick some seasons, and you know that was a lot of fun. And coming back there, I thought, right, I'm going to be a photographer. That's what I'm going to do. And I got back onto this arts college place, did well there. Then went to university in London, London Institute, London College of Printing, which is, you know, paired with things like London College of Fashion and Central St Martin's, Chelsea College of Art. It's a really great university, very arty. Did the degree there, and then I worked as a photographer's assistant in London and did my own photography. So for about 8 years, I was a photographer in London. When I finally left London, we left to start a family. Basically, moved to Bristol. That's when I got a job in the wine trade. Basically, there's a place called Avery's there, and worked in the fine wine department. And then yeah, it kind of grew from there, and there wasn't, basically outside London there's not much photography work really. You have to kind of work in London at that time anyway. Maybe it's changed now. And I suppose I kind of fell into a career in wine from there.
So that what you described there, obviously going through sort of university photography, you describe it as not a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah,
Did that sort of instill this sense of having to sort of be quite reactive and you know, you don't necessarily have a planned normal day?
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, none of the jobs really I've had, I guess, have been that sort of 9 to 5. Even in the wine trade, you know, because we would be doing, you know, well, when we're traveling, we'd be meeting different people, you know, having meals in the evening, and you know, yeah. I suppose I've never really worked that night. I think if you want to get into photography, you don't need to do a degree. I mean, I think I learned that. I enjoyed it a lot. I met some great people who, you know, still have some great friends from that time, but it did cost a lot of money, and I don't think it got me any further in photography. You know, people want to see what you can do at this moment in time. They don't really care about what qualifications you have. But that's photography, you know. But I think I probably would do it again though, because I did really enjoy it. But I think there's probably certain careers which would definitely benefit from it, and it, you know. So my daughter is coming to that sort of age soon, and if she wants to go to university, I'd never say don't do it. But I think you just got to think carefully. It's not just a thing you should just do. You know, it can definitely help you further your knowledge, and it's a great thing to have on your CV. But I think you've got to weigh it up with the costs. You know, they are so high. You know, it is basically a graduate tax, isn't it? And if there's something more practical you're interested in doing, then I think something like an apprenticeship could be a lot better. I think, you know, if you want to get into coffee, all you have to do is get a job as a barista. That you know, it's got to be the best start, you know, and in a cafe, and learn how to make good coffee, and also start to understand what makes good coffee. I think, the elements that are involved.
Hello, I'm sorry for the brief interruption, and I promise to keep it brief. Firstly, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're not already aware, this channel is purely a voluntary project. I set it up alone, and the goal is to help and inspire young people with creative ideas and advice that will hopefully see them successful in forging a career in life. However, it can't succeed by itself and without support. So if you haven't already subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could do so. It's entirely free. And as well as meaning that you get notifications of any new videos arriving, it just also really helps the channel to grow. So all you need to do is check below this video or any others, and there'll be a subscribe button if you haven't already done so, if you're not already a follower. Now, if you enjoy this video and any others, please give it a thumbs up and do leave a comment if you'd like to do so. But most importantly of all, if you know anybody who would be interested in this channel and the content that I provide, might be young people, college students, those looking for interesting career choices or inspiration or advice, please do share the channel, Dan's Creative Creatures. As I say, the main purpose, the main goal of the project is to help young people. Thank you. Back to the episode.
To make a really good cup of coffee is quite simple, but it's amazing how many people can't do it as well. So I think that's got to be the basis. And if you're interested in that industry, just try and soak up as much about it as possible. And there are lots of different parts to it. So barista is kind of the entry level, but I think anyone getting into coffee would start there. But from there, you can go into coffee roasting, or you can be selling. You can be a salesperson in the coffee trade. You can sell into wholesale accounts, or you can start your own business. With a coffee trailer or a van or a cafe. I mean, I'd probably a coffee trailer is a little bit easier to enter into financially. I think you need to be able to go on with people, and a lot of different types of people. It's normally working in a team, so it's important to be able to get on with your co-workers. But at the end of the day, you're customer facing, and you've got to put up with the public. So if you're not a great fan of them, it may be worth staying away. You're standing all day. It is physical as well. It's repetitive. There's, you're doing very similar thing, but I suppose it's actually caring about consistency, and having pride in your work is really important, because you can easily just bang out not very good coffee. I think to be a good barista, it's having that extra care as well.
Will has a regular pitch at the Three Counties show in Malvern, and when I visited the event on a particularly sunny day back in September, I could see why events such as this are so lucrative to mobile catering businesses, given the huge amount of footfall and activity in general over the course of the event's weekend. With all this in mind, I asked Will what gave him the idea for Counter Coffee in the first place.
So I guess maybe it's a bit to do with my look on life, and I don't think I've necessarily gone the usual route through life, and so counterculture, going to play on words with that, and then obviously playing on words with a coffee counter. Yeah, so I never tried hot foods, but I've always kind of focused on things like pastries and bakes, to complement coffees. Really, somewhere like here, people aren't really looking for lunch. It's more of a snack. They go for a walk up on Malvern Hills. I mean, more practically, the shelf life is a lot better as well. So there's not so much wastage. For a small business, that's really important. I think because I try and waste as little as possible, because it costs money basically, and everything is locally sourced, and that's kind of a key part of what I'm doing here. The coffee, everything pretty much as possible within the sort of 10-mile radius I've looked at.
And how difficult was it to establish some of those relationships with suppliers, for example?
With my background working with, in wine trades, it wasn't difficult really at all.
Right.
I suppose I'm used to talking to people, and at the end of the day, they want to sell their product. So, I'm quite happy to. Maybe they're not that happy because I'm always trying to get a better price on things, but I suppose that's my sales background. But it's an important part really. You have to have good relations with your suppliers as well as your customers. Being off grid, I don't have any mains electricity or mains water or mains gas, so they're the three I guess that I've always got to keep an eye on. I've got solar panels on the roof, and a big battery, big lithium battery, which when it's full will last 3 days using the electricity that I use in here. So that's the lights, outside, inside. I've got 2 grinders, and just the startup on the espresso machine and the water pump. All of that, it's not very much electricity at all. If I was to run the espresso machine just on electricity, which it can do, it would last probably 10 minutes. So it gives you some sort of idea. So the espresso machine uses gas, and then water. I suppose every morning I've got to fill up. I've got big tanks of water under here, 2 25-litre tanks of water basically, and I make sure that's all full, and that will be enough for most days. There were challenges getting it all together, so I bought this as pretty much a shell, and I had to kit it out myself. So I've only got so many skills, and so I needed to get in cabinet fitters, gas guy, electrician. All these people I had to then manage to get together all at the right time to get everything working.
It's evident that despite all the challenges, there are many advantages to setting up a mobile business such as Counter Coffee compared with more traditional businesses that trade in fixed locations on the high street, for example. Will shared his thoughts on this, along with his plans for the future.
I don't even know how much it would cost to set up a cafe, but probably sort of 50,000 plus, by a lot, maybe quite a lot more plus than that, I guess. Where you can set up something like this for half that.
And you're not necessarily exposed to some of the variable costs that things like obviously rent and
well, that's the thing, yeah. So I mean, I think there's a couple of positives really, or there's probably more, but the fact that you can be light on your feet. So if something's not working, say you realise it's really quiet wherever you set up, like here, you can move somewhere else. There is red tape involved. You can't just go anywhere, but you do have that flexibility, which makes such a difference. If you're in a cafe and you realise the footfall just is not great there, I mean, you're stuck really. The other thing is margin. So my margin is a lot better than a cafe. So a cafe's, if they're lucky, they're working 10% margin. I would say a lot of them more like 5%. Where this, I aim at 30%. So it's a big difference, definitely. Because I have, it's a lot lower operating costs. I guess the only way to expand would be to get more trailers, and it would be on my mind at some point perhaps, but I'm quite happy just at the moment to carry on with just this one. The business is still very young, and it's still growing, and it's constantly trying to get more events basically. So that's, you're always looking forwards to, even up to a year ahead, booking in events with people. So yeah, in the future, I think perhaps take on other staff, more full time, perhaps, so that I could have a weekends off. Would be a nice thing to do. I've got a family, so it'd be good to be able to spend at least some weekends with them, I think. And I suppose if you're looking at pros and cons, that could be seen as a con, that you have to work the busiest times, and those busiest times are weekends. It's definitely a consideration. It wouldn't suit everyone, I don't think. I'm very used to working in retail, so I've worked in weekends, most of my adult life. So it's what I'm used to, but it's probably not for everyone. You have to come across well. You have to be organised. You show that you have everything legally, all the legal requirements. They don't want to be chasing for anything, so everything has to always be up to date. There's a lot of things which you have to be understand about the health and safety aspects, and gas safety checks, and fire hydrant checks, and all these things. They want to see everything, so you have to have all those things, and that does take a bit of organisation. I suppose that's part of it, being organised. But I think really the main thing is that you come across well, that you can, you're a person that they can deal with happily, but also that your product's good. And probably that's number one thing. If your product's good enough, then you're gonna be able to get into places, and you're gonna get repeat custom from that as well. Because that's what you want. You don't want to just do one event and then be asked back. You want it to keep on going. So I suppose, yeah, if you can sort out your offering and make it all look good as well, then that's key.
Finally, with a cup of his excellent flat white in my hand, I asked Will what advice he could give to young people setting out in life who are not quite sure what they want to do for a job or career.
I'm in a very different place to where I thought I would be when I was, say, 16. And I think it's key just to be open-minded, and to think that nothing is set in stone, that you can even change your career midway through life, and it's totally possible these days. I think say yes as much as possible would be something. Things come up all the time, and it's so easy to think, oh, do I want to do that? But I think just give it a go. That's kind of what I've always done, and I've experienced a lot of things, and it's been a good ride so far. So we'll see where it goes from here, though.
Well, it was great to finally get to catch up with Will and find out all about his journey, his business, how he came to be, the challenges that he's faced and overcome, and really, the working environment for this sort of business. The challenge with the high street now, with so much uncertainty in the economy, means it's very difficult. There can be a lot of barriers to people who want to get set up within leisure, hospitality, food and drink. But having something with this level of flexibility, yes, of course, there are challenges, and there are big things to overcome, but the flexibility, and the attractiveness of the market, where there's so many more live events now, and particularly local events and festivals and places that people want to be able to eat and drink. What Will has got here is really fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and maybe it's given you some food for thought.